want to talk about running journals. So this is a super exciting topic for me because, as you can see, I've kept a lot of running journals in my time as a runner. This was actually one of the first YouTube ideas I had, but I wanted to make sure I got all my running journals back so I could share them with you and show you what's up. And I think this is going to be a multiple part series. This video is going to be all about why and how and what a running journal is. And then I think I'm gonna do some reaction videos to some of my old running journals because I got all of those back. My high school coach had them. I think it'll be hilarious just to look back and see what I did or what I wrote. Let's go ahead and just jump right into what a running journal is. So some people call it a running journal, some people call it a daily achievement log or daily activity log. Some people call it a training journal. It can literally be called whatever you want it to be called. But I go with running journal because that's what I first knew it as and just what I've called it literally for the past 8 years or so. Essentially what a running journal is you writing down all of the activities you've done that day, and at the end of this video when I start talking about how to keep a running journal, I'll go over all the different things you can write in a running journal. There's so many variety of things you can write, and I know in the past I've written more down, and in the future now I write different stuff down that honestly can be a little bit more detailed than what I used to do. But I'll hop into that later. So my story with running journals is my high school coach thought it was a great idea. He had former athletes do it. He gave me one of his former athletes' running journals to read, and I read through the entire thing, which was really helpful in learning what I should be writing. So this was my first running journal. I thought I might have one for my first cross-country season, but I don't think I do. It was from 2014 to 15, essentially November to February. So this was my first state meet, and I wrote down everything about it, which was really cool. I don't think I'll forget that experience, but just having it written down, I can look back at, and I love it because it's easy to forget those little memories sometimes, but if you have it written down, you can always go back. I really thought that I would remember moments forever. It would be easy to remember things, but it's really not that easy. This was 7 years ago or something like that at this point. And the memory is a little bit blurry. I still remember some things, but reading it helps bring it back. But I wrote down everything I did that winter and turned it into my coach during the spring, and that's my story with running journals. I've been keeping a running journal ever since. I have found it extremely helpful. I first wanted to talk about why I think it's so important to keep a running journal and why I'm a big advocate of a running journal. Running journals help you to be reflective and really pay attention to your training. It can be really easy to just fall into the daily grind and not really pay attention and just do what you're told every day by a coach. But if you sit down and take the time to think about your training, how it's helping you, how maybe something is harming you, then it's going to be a lot more benefit to you and your coach to know these things about yourself. So for example, let's say you keep having cramps every single time you run. Well, maybe you decide to pay attention and write down the different snacks or meals you eat before a run, so you can talk to your coach or a nutritionist about what you're eating to figure out if, oh, I'm eating a huge lunch before I run, so maybe I should back it off and eat a little bit less and then have a bigger meal after running. Or let's say your shins start hurting after this one certain workout. So let's say if you're doing 200 quick workout, and the next day your shins always hurt, but you don't know why your shins hurt. A running journal is going to help you look back and realize, oh, my shins hurt every single time the day after I did this workout. So it's just going to help you in multiple ways. It's going to help you realize what you need and what's important to you. And that's really great to have. Second of all, I think a running journal is just really fun to look back at. A lot of the times will look back at some of my more recent running journals. So I'll look at a workout that I did my freshman year here at Mizzou and compare it to what I just did a week ago. And it's really fun to see the progress because, again, when you're in that daily grind, you don't always pay attention to everything going on. And if you just like look back at some of the older stuff, you can see how much progress you've made in running, and as well as your like mental state and ability to run through certain things. It's gonna just give you a huge confidence boost to see like how you've progressed, and it's amazing to read and look back on what you've accomplished, because it can be so easy to forget about the little things, the little wins, but those are super important to keeping the joy of running alive and knowing that what you're doing is really making a difference. A running journal can also help you to visualize and really pay attention to your goals. So at the beginning of every season, I go through and write a list of my goals and how I'm going to accomplish them. And then at the beginning of each week, I also write my big goal, as well as a few little things that I'm gonna do to help me accomplish those goals. So that is essentially making my goals more concrete. I believe if you write down your goals, you're more likely to hit them because you're paying attention to them more. It's written down, it's put into the world. You want to hit those goals, so writing them down is a really great first step. And if you're consistently writing down your goals, you're consistently thinking about them, consistently visualizing them, thinking about how it's going to feel to hit those goals. And research has proven that visualization and imagery in sports is a really big benefit, and is going to help you reach your goals and help you run how you want to run. You might be tracking your runs and your activities through Strava or Garmin Connect or something like that, but a lot of times those platforms are kind of social and they're more for seeing other people. I sometimes don't recommend Strava or don't look at it just because of that comparison game. It's really a bad thing to do, and a running journal is just for me. I'm the only one who can read it. I think Strava made a good move in making personal notes, but the social aspect just can get tricky sometimes for some people, and I believe a running journal is specifically yours. You can write whatever you want in it. It does not matter. You can never show it to anybody. You can let other people read it. I know that some of the kids at my high school now have read a lot of my high school running journals, and I hope that's really helped them. But a running journal is yours. It's yours to keep. You don't have to show anybody, and you can really get personal with it, whereas Strava, a lot of people can sometimes see it. And so that's another reason I recommend having a running journal, because it's just for you. Oh, and then finally, I don't really think about this often, but running journals just show how dedicated and how much you care about the sport. So if you're a high schooler right now and you're keeping a running journal and you really want to run in college, if you show a college coach your running journal, they're going to be extremely impressed, and it's just going to prove that you really care about the sport, you really care about yourself, and you really care about getting better, and they're going to love to see that. Now let's get into the how of keeping a running journal. So step one is to get a journal. So you can get something plain like this. I used to use spiral notebooks all the time, and I legit just wrote stuff down. Then in some of these, I got some cute notebooks and I drew a lot more things. So I also like putting quotes into it. I think it's really nice to do that, and I got really creative with it back in high school. And in high school, I actually found dot journals or bullet journals, and I loved the bullet journal look, but then also just being creative with it. It's a lot easier to draw things and make it look cute. So now I always buy, I'm gonna butcher this, but it's like the Lettram journal, 1917, so I can link that below. It's kind of a pricier journal, but it's just super high quality, and I love the way the pages look, love the size of it, the durability. I think it stays nice for a really long time. You can also find journals. So I was given this as a gift a long time ago. As you see, it's 2015. I actually want to create my own running journal to sell at some point. I've kept so many journals. I know what works for me and what works for others, and can help develop something that I find super duper useful, but there's already some on the market that you can kind of get. This can help you stay on track as well. So that's the first step. Get a journal to write in. If you want to get something simple and that's going to work for you, great. If you want to get something really cute, something that's going to make you want to open it every single night, great. So let's move on to step 2. So step 2 is to start writing. So what I like to do at the beginning of each season is write my big goals down. So you can take some of this stuff and use it. You don't have to use any of it. It's all up to you and what your preferences are. I'll set this down. So for example, this season, I didn't go super artsy with it, but here are my goals and what I need to do to accomplish those, as well as a future log. So future log is kind of a bullet journal term, and it just kind of goes over what's going to happen in the future, as well as like a little calendar to go with it. But essentially, I write down the schedule for the season and just highlight or circle where the meets are, so I can just kind of get a look and see when meets are and get an idea of what the season's gonna look like. As you see, I put a future log here as well. This is from high school. Here's my goals. I went a lot more creative with it during this season. It was my last high school season. So I wrote goals as in like getting 4 gold medals at state, being positive each day, breaking certain goals, don't get injured or sick. That one, you can't always control that, but you know, you can do certain things to help you stay healthy, which is good. Cheer on teammates. I always had a goal, and I still do have a goal of when I finish my race, I'm not laying down on the ground. I'm going back. Sometimes you can't go back in track. I always do this in cross country, go back and cheer on teammates. During track, if you can't always go back on the infield and cheer people on, I stay at the finish line and scream and cheer as well as I can post-race as teammates are crossing the line. I just find that to really be team-oriented. But then each month, some people do things like average heart rate, sleep, mood trackers, so habit trackers each month, as well as like water intake. So those are both like habit based. So for example, I had a goal to stretch every day. I had to take iron, no coffee. I gave up coffee, which is kind of crazy. I don't know why I did that. Wearing calf sleeves at night to help with shin splints, and then tracking everything in my bullet journal. And I did a really good job of this. So sometimes a habit tracker can keep you on your goals, keep track of your goals, and just help you stay on task because you're writing those things down every day. So it's gonna help you figure that out. And then, like I said, I added quote pages. Here's another example of my habit and mood tracker that I did way back in the day. My first year here at Mizzou, as well as my heart rate and sleep. I don't really track that too much anymore. Here's the season mileage. So this tracks my weekly mileage from this season. This was my last high school season. And these are my shoes that I wore, and I kept track of mileage that way. It was really cute to draw, but I just didn't keep up with it super well. So if that's something you can keep up with, great. If not, I know that like Strava also tracks that for you. And honestly, I just look at the bottom of my shoes to know whenever I've used them too long or not. But it was really cute, and I really liked the idea at the time. And now let's get into daily. The most important thing I think is the daily log that you set for yourself, which is what I do. I write in it every single day. Sometimes I might skip a night on accident, but typically I'm writing in it every single day. I just find it really beneficial to get your ideas down and like what happened in the day before you forget. So here's an example from cross country. Actually, let's go to like last week. So here's last week for me. As you see, I wrote down my goal, like my big goal for the season, and then what I'm gonna do that week to help me get to that goal. So this week I said I wanted to focus on recovery, getting proper sleep, eating right after workouts, normoteking and using certain recovery products, and then as well as like getting back on taking my iron and calcium every day. because I started to get a little lazy with it. And so I really wanted to focus on getting back into that routine. Every day I write down what I did. So for example, on Monday, I wrote down my resting heart rate for the day, my cross train for the day, and different activities I did. So I also had lift that day, as well as a speed, agility, and quickness practice. Then here's a day that I ran and did a workout. I write down my splits, I write down paces, how long I ran, and how I felt. So in high school, I feel like I kind of did this, but now I really put a focus on the mental aspect of my workouts and runnings, like how I felt beforehand. Did I feel nervous? Why did I feel nervous? Trying to like kind of pinpoint that down and help my mental state. So when it comes to races, I know how to control my nerves as well as just feel ready to go. So like I said, you write down paces, distances, splits, how you felt, as well as other activities you did that day. So I have a goal of doing 1 mindfulness practice a day, or at least 6 out of the 7 days of a week. So a lot of times I end up doing yoga. I just find yoga to be a good meditative practice as well as physical that helps you recover. So just to go over, because I feel like I blabbed a lot, I talked a lot, which there's a lot to talk about when it comes to a training journal. But what is a training journal? It's essentially a log or a way to track all of your daily activities. Why? It's going to help you reach your goals. It's going to help you be more reflective. It's going to help you to understand what works best for you. Super reflective. It's great to look back on, and it just helps you to visualize and track your goals. And 3, how do you keep a running journal? So first, get a journal. Second, start writing in it. So you can start off with just writing your run for the day, your mileage, and your time and your paces. Or you can get as detailed as writing your miles, times, paces, any cross training you do, your races, your PRs, your heart rate, how you felt during your run, and your mindset, your sleep, what you ate. I did that a long time ago. I now do not write what I ate at all. Any discomforts you felt while running, maybe these small things can turn into a big injury. So just writing down the small things helps you to keep track and understand where you are in your training, and if something big does happen, you know when it started and how it's progressed, so you can speak to a athletic trainer or a doctor about it, as well as like weather and other small things like that happened during your run. Yeah, that's running journal 101 essentially. There's a lot with running journals, so if you have more questions, I'm sure you will. I'm sure I wasn't the most organized in this video. I tried to be, but I will gladly make another video on running journals. I'm a big advocate for the running journals, and like I said, I'm gonna do a part 2 at some point where I react to my old running journals. Like, this is the first one I kept. If you liked this video, if you want to see more on running journals or anything at all, please comment what you want to hear or questions you have, as well as like this video and subscribe for more.